Born on December 16, 1485, in the Grand Palace of Alcalá de Henares, near Madrid, Catherine of Aragon entered the world destined for greatness. As the youngest daughter of King Ferdinand II of Aragon and Queen Isabella I of Castile, Catherine was a child of the Catholic monarchs, whose marriage had united Spain into one of Europe's most powerful kingdoms. Her parents' reign was marked by their victory in the Reconquista and the sponsorship of Christopher Columbus's voyages, events that would shape global history. Raised in this atmosphere of triumph and devout Catholicism, Catherine was molded to embody both strength and piety, qualities that would define her life. Catherine was a remarkably well-educated young woman. Fluent in Latin, Spanish, and French, she was also trained in theology, philosophy, and domestic arts. She was groomed not only to be a queen but to represent the ideal of Christian womanhood. At the age of 3, she was betrothed to Prince Arthur, the eldest son of England's King Henry VII, solidifying an alliance between England and Spain. On November 1501, Catherine arrived in England to marry Prince Arthur. At just 15 years old, she stepped into a foreign land, bringing with her a dowry of 200,000 crowns and the weight of her family's expectations. On November 14, Catherine and Arthur were married in a lavish ceremony at St. Paul's Cathedral. The couple settled in Ludlow Castle, the seat of the Prince of Wales. But their union was short-lived. In April 1502, only 5 months after their wedding, Arthur fell ill, likely from sweating sickness, and died. Catherine, now a widow at 16, was left in limbo, stranded in a foreign court with uncertain prospects. Yet, she refused to return to Spain, displaying the resilience that would become her hallmark. On June 11, 1501, Catherine married Arthur's younger brother, Henry, who had ascended the throne as Henry VIII. Their coronation followed shortly on June 24, and England welcomed its new king and queen with exuberance. By all accounts, Catherine and Henry shared a deep affection in their early years. She became his trusted advisor, often serving as regent during his absences. Notably, in 1513, she played a critical role in England's victory at the Battle of Flodden while Henry waged war in France. Catherine's queenship was marked by her intelligence, diplomatic skill, and charitable works. She was a patron of education, especially for women, and supported Erasmus, one of the leading scholars of the Renaissance. However, her greatest challenge as queen would come from her inability to provide a male heir. Although she bore several children, only one survived infancy, and that was Mary, born in 1516. By the late 1520s, Henry VIII had grown desperate for a male heir. He had become infatuated with Anne Boleyn, a lady-in-waiting in Catherine's court. As Anne Boleyn's presence at court grew more prominent, Catherine of Aragon found herself increasingly sidelined. Anne was everything Catherine was not: young, vivacious, and outspoken. She had an allure that captured Henry's attention and a sharp wit that matched his own. For Catherine, who had spent decades as Henry's loyal partner and queen, Anne's rise was both an insult and a direct challenge to her authority. But more than a rivalry over Henry's affection, their conflict became a symbol of a deeper struggle: tradition versus ambition, faith versus defiance, and legitimacy versus innovation. Anne made no secret of her ambitions. She sought not just to win Henry's heart but to replace Catherine entirely. This ambition placed the two women on a collision course. Catherine, deeply rooted in her faith and her royal heritage, refused to cede her position as queen. She remained steadfast, even as Anne openly flaunted her influence over Henry. Their rivalry divided the court, with factions forming around each woman. Nobles, diplomats, and even servants were forced to take sides in a battle that was as much political as it was personal. Though direct encounters between Catherine and Anne were rare, when they did occur, the tension was palpable. At one court gathering, Catherine is said to have greeted Anne with icy formality, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Anne, unused to such resistance, struggled to maintain her composure. The animosity between them extended to their interactions through Henry. Catherine, unafraid to speak her mind, openly criticized Anne's behavior and the king's treatment of her, further stoking Anne's anger. The most dramatic confrontation between Catherine and Anne occurred indirectly during the Legatine Court of 1529. Here, Catherine publicly declared her refusal to step aside, famously stating, "I am the king's true wife, and as long as I live, I shall be so." This statement was not only a direct challenge to Henry but also a public denunciation of Anne's legitimacy. Anne, though not present at the tribunal, was deeply affected by the spectacle. She realized that Catherine's resolve would not be easily broken, and this intensified her efforts to solidify her own position. Catherine's unwavering dignity earned her the sympathy and support of the English people. To them, she was the true queen, virtuous, devout, and steadfast in her love for Henry. Anne, by contrast, was seen by many as an ambitious interloper who had bewitched the king. Pamphlets, ballads, and gossip painted Anne as a seductress who had used her charms to undermine a rightful queen. This public sentiment only deepened the divide between the two women. Anne, aware of Catherine's enduring popularity, resented her rival's ability to command respect and loyalty despite her diminishing status. King Henry, on his part, was convinced that his marriage to Catherine was cursed because she had been his brother's widow. Henry sought an annulment from Pope Clement VII. Catherine, steadfast in her faith and her role as queen, refused to concede. She argued that her marriage to Arthur had never been consummated, rendering her union with Henry legitimate. The annulment crisis, known as the King's Great Matter, dragged on for years, plunging England into political and religious turmoil. Catherine's dignity during this period won her the admiration of the English people, who saw her as their rightful queen because despite immense pressure, she refused to step aside as queen. In 1533, Henry defied the Pope, broke from the Catholic Church, and married Anne Boleyn. Catherine was stripped of her title as queen and forced to live in isolation. She was moved to various castles, including Kimbolton, where she spent her final years in seclusion. Forbidden from seeing her daughter Mary, she endured immense personal suffering. Yet, Catherine remained unwavering in her faith and refused to acknowledge Anne as queen. On January 7, 1536, Catherine of Aragon passed away at the age of 50. Many believe she died of cancer, though heartbreak and years of mistreatment surely contributed to her decline. In her final letter to Henry, she wrote, "Mine eyes desire you above all things." Despite all he had done, her love for him endured to the end. Catherine's legacy, however, did not die with her. Her daughter, Mary, would later ascend the throne, becoming England's first reigning queen. Catherine's unwavering faith and strength in the face of adversity have cemented her as a symbol of dignity and resilience. Queen Catherine's legacy extends far beyond her tumultuous life. She remains a symbol of steadfastness in the face of adversity, embodying the virtues of loyalty and faith. Despite being cast aside by the man she devoted her life to, she never wavered in her commitment to her role as England's queen. Her unwavering sense of duty, even when it led to personal sacrifice, is a reminder of the resilience and inner strength required to confront injustice while maintaining dignity. Catherine's story continues to resonate because it speaks to the timeless struggle of standing firm in one's values amidst societal and political upheaval. Her impact on history can also be seen through her daughter, Mary, who would go on to rule England as its first reigning queen. Mary's staunch Catholicism and determination were undoubtedly influenced by her mother's own piety and resolve. Catherine's influence extended even to the broader scope of European diplomacy, as her marriage and alliances shaped the political landscape of the 16th century. She played a vital role in fostering education and the arts, championing the causes of scholars and ensuring that Renaissance ideals flourished during her time as queen. Today, Catherine is remembered not only for her trials but for her profound humanity. Her story serves as a beacon for anyone striving to maintain grace and integrity during challenging times. As we reflect on her life, we are reminded that true strength lies not in conquest or power but in unwavering faith, compassion, and the courage to stand for what is right, even when the odds seem insurmountable. Queen Catherine of Aragon's life is not just a tale of the past, it is a lesson for all time. Thanks for tuning into the past. Don't forget to subscribe and join me for more stories that shaped our world.